We're back. So I'm just chilling, bro. Watching a show right now.
They say that death
So I
is the
figured
great
I'd come watch it
equalizer.
with.
But in Cleveland, rushes well into the hereafter, raped, strangled, and murdered. Before
Yeah,
Cleveland, they were poor.
Dozier was last heard of. Long disappeared in the summer of 2000. Michelle Mason went missing in October. Nancy Cobb's body was found wrapped inside 6. Janice Webb was last seen. There was a ligature in the front. Melda Hunter was last seen
Arrested for his crimes in 2009. Last
Only
5
died
years,
last
the
month,
injustice
this
of the
guy.
story
The
has
guy that
nagged
got
at my
charged
mind.
with all these murders.
I had to
he
revisit the
died
case.
last month.
What are you doing? A delicious Polish. Hey, what's going on? What are you doing? Grounds where Anthony buried is, but it has an aura or a power to it because of so much pain and suffering that is in this soil and in this space. And I think that's part of the reason why there's not a lot of activity. Want to live near this. Talk to some of these women who. Parents hooked me up with 2 other. I met them at a local soul food spot, famous for its sauce trend. They still.
2009, there was a rape victim pair of panties. They went into the house, the end of anything else they could do. So we responded. So now we're looking at each other.
That's fucked up.
It's dirt, I lay there or whatever.
Sure enough, there is.
Red bucket, about maybe a foot high, was a skull. These flies were hanging from the ceiling, and the stench, you had decomposed 2 or 3 feet away from another body, and then to find an additional body in the crawl space with the same type of dirt that was in the basement and a skull in the basement. Now you can imagine what your mind is thinking. So where else?
Yeah.
And that's what prompted us to look throughout the house.
Was that he would start out having oral sex with them, and then he would have vaginal sex with them after that, and then he would
He would strangle
and he would strangle them at the same time.
He knew how to get. That's
And being friendly to you, and you get inside, exposed to, the complete terror of will. 11.
This is probably.
That's a fact. This was a man.
With respect to the matter of fine case by proof beyond a reasonable doubt. So,
I truly am sorry from the bottom explaining, but I know it's not a lot, but that's all I can give you.
So beautiful.
As soon as I got there, I was had to pick out an instrument I had to play, and
For the promise of a better life. But in the 60s, local industries began to fail, and coinciding with social tensions across the country, Cleveland erupted into race riots that propelled white flight to the suburbs.
I saw East Cleveland fall apart. And it fell apart due to drugs. A lot of apartment buildings went to the dumps because management no longer cared they got on drugs themselves.
What was she using or looking?
I think it was extension cord that time.
Did you get to a point, Anthony, where you wanted to get out of that house?
Yes.
Why did you want to
Police
get out?
working though.
Escape.
Discharged from the Marines and came back home in 19 years of a. He took her to his home where he raped and tortured her. I met her at the Renee Jones Empowerment Center, where she now volunteers to help other women get out of the street life.
Upgraded area. And had me fix the car. I thank God I did. I did Jesus, but Jesus to sleep. Other than that,
was offered a plea bargain and sentenced to 15 years in prison for attempted rape. He got out in 2005, a registered sex offender, although his DNA was never in the Mount Pleasant neighborhood. Of Crystal Dozier. In June 2007, her family reported her missing and posted flyers all around the neighborhood. Inspectors visited the neighborhood that summer. Some folks assumed it was coming from the convenience store across the street, run by Elias Taya. Like many people, Taya moved away after the Sowell fallout. I heard that you...
Like garbage bags, sometimes he used to ask for. And
Smell?
every day. Some people come to my store, they say, everybody was coming to my store, apologizing.
LaShonda Long went missing in August on Imperial Avenue, brought health inspectors back again that summer. They blamed Ray's Sausage, who sits right next door to Sowell, and paid nearly $200,000 to upgrade their ventilation.
Literally blaming it on a convenience
The
store.
smell of rotting flesh continued to haunt the
literally
neighborhood.
not him doing that.
One night in September
It's happening
2008,
too.
Sowell met Vanessa Gay on a street corner.
That's fucking crazy.
He invited her over to drink and smoke.
Punch me in my face. And he proceeded to rape me over and over and over.
For taking rape reports. An officer told her she had to come in. Ashamed and in shock, she refused. Vanessa agreed to meet me testifying against Sowell.
Sometimes. After you get past it, into them teen years, you know. But until I was in my...
So in 2008, where were you in your life?
head hit rock bottom. My children to think this is normal because by no...
It took place? What?
Because if a person does something wrong to you, you're supposed to call the police. Well, then the person that hurt you, what do? You know, and not even just by the police, just the community didn't understand what I was going through.
Bro.
So, you know, addicts have to face ridicule. They have to face not being taken seriously. They take you as just that, a drug addict. You have no, you know, if you can sweep them under the rug and keep them out of sight, then the problem might go away. No, the problem ain't going away, you know, and I understand that they have another human being.
And how did you feel when the news sort of broke?
After to me, you know, some of the investigate, take the time. Part of me like, oh yeah, they got him. Felt good, but the other part was like, oh my God, these women lost their lives. And if they'd have just listened, then...
As women continued to disappear in Mount Pleasant, missing person reports piled up. Michelle Mason was reported mental life vigils around the neighborhood. Most people didn't want to get involved. Clarence, however, had a lot to say. Clarence, Will
Yes,
Cooper.
sir. All right, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Did you know any of the women that were
Quite a few of them.
Really?
Yeah.
What were they like?
Well, most of them were all of them were drug addicts, so it's hard to say responsible for your addiction, but you are responsible for your recovery, and a lot of them never got a chance
to recover.
For somebody to meet them in recovery, so it's hard to say what they would have really been like.
Right. Or do you think it's hard for them to actually get justice because of, you know, the way people perceive them?
A lot of made complaints against Sowell, but no investigation, no nothing, just, oh, you're a crackhead.
Right.
Go smoke crack and leave us alone. You know, we got bigger fish to fry or whatever.
Do you think the people in this community feel like the police aren't there to...
You can, you know, but no, I don't think they are. We don't care about the well-being of the next person. We'll say anything, it's like the code of the streets. You know, it's like we're terrorists in our own communities against ourselves.
He attacked her and dragged her home.
He just started strangling me to say, please stop screaming, you finna die, and I'm almost gone.
They refused her, so she had led by
Had glass where we saw the blood, saw the evidence of a confrontation. Gladys told the police what happened. They arrested him on the spot, took him down to the Cleveland Police Department, booked him into jail.
Sowell was arrested, and Gladys's case was assigned to sex crimes detective Georgia Hussein.
Georgia Hussein was a Cleveland police officer. She worked in the sex crimes unit for a number of years. To discuss the case while he was prosecutor, not the felonious exposure that Anthony released him from custody so that he could kill more people. The facts in this case are so egregious, okay? It's not even about money. And they want to be able to say to the world, do your job appropriately as it was designed for.
Detective Hussein went to Soel's house a few days. Soel went on. He raped, strangled, and murdered
How did they
Kim
not
Smith,
search ourselves
Nancy Cobbs,
when that happened?
Imelda Hunter, Janice Webb. Another woman's department visited his home for a routine sex offender checkup.
Tundra Billups came into court and testified at 12205 Imperial with the defendant to drink and get high. She testified that at
5 Imperial Avenue, identifying Soel as her assailant and telling him she had left her personal belongings at his house. The patrolman did not go out and question Soel. The case was passed as sex crimes but did not move forward for nearly a month.
Damn.
In October, Shawn Morris threw herself out of Soel's second-story window to save her life, beckoning police back to Imperial Avenue.
This is surveillance video shown in court today from a camera at the Ray's Sausage Company right now.
And she was bleeding out. He said, man, this is my woman. And we was fucking. And she fell out the window. That shit just didn't sound right to me.
I met Don Laster at his neighborhood bar. He saw what was going down that day.
I called 911. First time in my life calling 911, you know? The fire department came.
He dropped her off and left without ever being questioned by the police.
Wow.
Shawn was unconscious for 3 days, died being attacked. More than a month prior to search warrant to enter, Soel once felt like a force of nature, were brought to an end. I needed to understand how so many accusations of rape against a sex offender like Soel could get bungled by the police. To get some insight, they both joined the force back in the day as a way out of the ghetto. He was in the sex crimes unit when Soel was still at large.
Well, I was been detective in sex crimes. I didn't think that after 10 years after I left, you're there to do a job, and this is your job, and you say to yourself, so to speak, that that's their problem. But
you feel like,
of course, overwhelming. We all had.
Like very soon after Soel's situation, maybe she was burned out.
Well, you know, because of the fact that we were seasoned detectives, and somebody had to. My whole opinion is to the system. They allow us to do.
These victims are coming. Their claims, you know, as being less valid.
Of course. I mean, we're only. Policemen are people first. We're human beings first. And that's the way the system is. For them, it's that's the way the world is. So
right.
Is it right? No. But it is what it is.
It is
the negligence
what it
exhibited
is.
in the Soel case. Reports uncovered that the Sex Crimes and Child Abuse Unit was overwhelmed with work and lacking basic technology and training. They only had 13 working detectives. I met Soel case. He didn't. What do you think are some of the good things in that
reach their victims are people that are compromised and they end up in another state and can't tell you why they're there.
Isn't staffed efficiently. I mean, if you're gonna be a real major city, okay, as Cleveland purports to be, it failed, and it failed in 2008. I believe that's when the initial arrest was made. My concern and my worry, if changes aren't properly made.
We live in a time when the institutional dysfunctions of American law enforcement are on full display, and Cleveland stands as one of the most backward.
We have determined that there is reasonable cause to systemic deficiencies, including insufficient accountability, inadequate training and equipment, ineffective policies, and inadequate engagement in the community.
In December 2014, the Department of Justice published a scathing report highlighting the CPD's systemic failures.
There are problems.
Anytime soon. Soel's victims were only to protect them. The neglect of their cries helps reveal another side of the pattern of excessive use of force that's been showcased by the Black Lives Matter movement. When cops only see us as criminals, we're also denied the right to be victims. As the city has tried to forget the Sowell murders, back in Mount Pleasant, the victims and their families have been left with no recognition or support. A reminder of how little the city cares about what happened.
I'm glad to see his business. They've done well for a long time, and looks like they're still doing well.
Yeah, I heard the sausage is pretty good.
They are good.
What feelings does it bring back to...
Looking at it now, it looks really small. I recall there being a driveway to the west of the house right here.
There's that infamous video or it says Sean Moore Place.
Actually, it would have taken place on the east side of the building here.
Okay.
I would say that this window was somewhere in this area, and this is where people's information, and I'm not going to give it straight to you, and we'll work from there.
Do you think that in every instance, in every situation, the police did their job?
If we don't succeed at something, it's always our fault. When I get a case, I go after everybody, but the reality of it is I'm not going to solve them all. But when the ones I do solve, that's fine. That's my job. I really don't like it because with a lot of flour. Remember what it was, but once you looked at it and saw it, it would immediately take you somewhere else. And I knew that that would have been a great thing. It's been a long time. And it's not. And I congratulate them for trying.
But there's still trash
all over the place. And I hope that someone would step forward. And I'm not putting this on the victims' families because it just takes reasons. Mom, I talk to her quite a bit.
To the people who
She's about the only
followed Derek,
one that contacts me quite a bit.
Brandon, you know,
We
I
talk
appreciate y'all
occasionally, and
follows.
we had talked about this a lot, and she's very and not kept.
Play some 2K.
But the truth of the
Probably
matter is,
tomorrow morning.
promises are always